Welcome back to Reality 101. My name is Dr. Molly.
And I'm Dr. Rule.
And we are covering 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way, episodes 12 and 13. In this episode, a lot of bombs were dropped, a lot of new dynamics. Danielle meets with her ex, Johan implodes, Gabe and Isabel are trying to get married, and we meet Gabe's family again. So I think we have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Just as oh, sorry, Dr. Rule, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Oussama has like a meltdown. Debbie and Oussama have like a total meltdown.
They have a meltdown, and I didn't see it coming. I did not see it coming.
This was maybe the highest drama couple of episodes we've had.
It's actually really true. Well, okay, would you say more drama than Danielle and Johan, though? Or do you feel like they're like a steady?
They're like a steady stream. I mean, they brought the drama. We're going to get there. But, I mean, bringing in the ex, whew, yeah.
Yeah, I know. She's just like, it's like, what can she do incorrectly? And then she just does that thing.
Yeah, they just like level up the drama every week.
Yeah, so we are covering 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way, and more. We are still covering Married at First Sight season 16. That feels like a huge chore for us. So we would love to have more people to talk about those terrible episodes with. But guess what, everybody? New show alert. We're also covering Love in Paradise.
Yes,
we just released our new episode.
For everybody who is loving the 90-day universe like us, Love in Paradise, it's golden. If you haven't watched it already, you know, you can catch up with season 1 and 2, but you really don't have to. You can jump in with season 3. And yeah, we're providing coverage of that. We are dropping an episode talking about the first 3 episodes all in one, really going over who these new cast members are. So definitely check it out if you're a fan of 90 Day Fiancé or 90 Day The Other Way. If you have not watched Love in Paradise, watch it, and of course, tune into our coverage.
Obviously, tune into our coverage because we are going to be covering Love in Paradise on our Patreon. So the first episode of Love in Paradise, where we cover those first 3 episodes, that is for free on Spotify or wherever you get the podcasts, and it's also on our Patreon. And guess what? It's also on YouTube, which I'll also talk about in a second. But you can join a tier at Patreon to listen to the rest of our coverage of Love in Paradise if you go to patreon.com/RLTY podcast. Dr. Rule, can you tell them how they can find us on social media?
Of course, you can always find us on social media. We are on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. Our handle's the same for all 3 platforms. It's at RLTY101. Of course, we love your engagement there. So let us know your questions. Let us know what your take on all this crazy drama is. We'd love to talk about it and bring it on the show. And we always really support your support of Black and Indigenous feminist public scholarship.
Yeah, I don't think we've mentioned that recently, that we are Black and Indigenous respectively. And so this type of work, we do this outside of our regular academic work, right? This is how we meet our research with our guilty pleasures. And we talk about these things once a week or sometimes more times a week, and want to be in conversation with more people about how race and gender and politics finds their way into these shows, but also into our daily lives, and how these shows mirror our daily lives. And so those are kind of some of the conversations that you can expect on Patreon or on social media. I did want to talk a little bit about our YouTube channel, which is
brand new.
It's brand new, and she's really cute. And yeah, wow. So YouTube is going to be this really exciting place for us. You can find us there, youtube.com/RLTY101, just like everything else. And we have our video recordings, just like we have on Patreon. Actually, if you go to YouTube, you can watch our first video of our recording of Love in Paradise. Oh, great. So we have that. We also have some live things we're thinking about doing, and YouTube's just another way for you to stay connected with us and to interact with us more visually. And so we're really excited. You should subscribe and like us there as well.
Yeah. Definitely looking forward to some of those live engagements. Let us know what you'd like to see from us on YouTube. We'll definitely keep you up to date, but we'd love to hear suggestions for what would be interesting to you. So like I said, get in touch and check us out, give us a follow, give us a like, leave a comment.
Yeah, everybody, it's about to be summertime and school's out, and we know you're thinking a little bit more freely, and you're like, oh, I would like to engage with some people about, I don't know, all my little shows. I have more free time. This is the perfect podcast to listen to when you're walking around, when you're exercising, when you're doing stuff with your friends. You can wash your dishes together and listen to our podcast, share it with your friends, because that's really how this is going to keep going and we can grow our community. So,
Awesome.
awesome. Should we start talking about all of these train wrecks?
Yes, I just took a big inhale. So let's go in. Yeah, episodes 12 and 13. Dr. Molly, what couple do you want to kick off with?
I would like to kick off with Jamie and Chris because they only appear on episode 12. So we don't hear anything about them in episode 13. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They were pretty low profile. They're still separate, not legally separated, but they are living in separate places right now. Chris has gone back home to the US. Jamie is still in Colombia. So they're not in the same place. So we're getting just a little bit behind the scenes footage of, Jamie talking to her friends, Chris talking to her mom, a little bit of sort of phone communication, but it's really very limited.
It's really limited. And I think I have to start that when Jamie said, I have not spoken to you, Chris, in 5 months. 5 months. I thought, the way 90-day works, I was like, okay, well, it's been like 2 weeks a week. 5 months, everyone. And so that's why I'm guessing we don't have a lot of footage of them together, because Chris won't pick up the phone. They don't have very much communication. I'm getting it mixed up. Jamie says she feels like she's married to someone who doesn't exist. 5 months, I would have already filed the paperwork for a divorce.
Oh man. I mean, yeah, let us know. If you married someone who came to your country and then left within the week, and then you didn't hear from them for 5 months, would you file for divorce or would you stick it out? Let us know, because Jamie is between a rock and a hard place. And for anybody who's not watching our video, for people who are just listening, you should have seen my face. I mean, my eyes were huge. It's craziness. It's craziness. I think that this is a larger pattern of Chris's behavior that came out briefly, but they've only been together for a year. And so it happened. Jamie had a little taste of it, but it's happening again. And at this point, this is a repeat behavior. Chris, it is not a good look. And also some of the dynamics around the way even Chris and her mom were talking about Jamie, I thought were really problematic.
Yeah, and so her mom says something like, oh, you're being made into a sugar mama. Chris explains that she's been power washing, cars and just working nonstop, doing things to send, she says, everything I have, it goes to you, and you want, and you want more, and it's just never enough. And I think I said this on another episode, but it's like, she can't be sending more than $500. Like, I don't know if that, like her doing yard work is making hella money in Alabama, and I could be wrong on that. But it sounds like they were having a hard time making ends meet when Chris was there. So if she's not there, I mean, that has to be crazy. I just have to remind everyone again, it was Chris who told Jamie to quit her job, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's abusive. It's abusive. It's financial abuse. And then Jamie explains that there's a lot of cultural barriers, right, that go into her not being able to find a job, that she's living in Colombia, but no one wants to hire Venezuelans. And, we don't know what her skill levels are, what her skills are, what her education level, any of these things. She's also had an experience with COVID, right? And now she has COVID again. I mean, I know some of this is bleeding into episode 11, but it's just all of these things together. And we see Chris stomping around her house and banging cupboards and talking about how, it's just not going to ever be enough. So I'm just leaving, and dipping on conversations. And it's really unhealthy.
It's extremely toxic. I think that it's really important, Dr. Molly, that you just pointed out that really Chris was the catalyst here. And she's having this conversation with her mom in one of these scenes. And her mom says that Jamie is living like a kept woman, right? And I have to think that there are some, racial, national, maybe age dynamics that go into that type of statement, because again, we are really not talking about anybody living as a kept woman or Chris being in any type of position to be a sugar mama. I mean, we're dealing with people who are struggling to make ends meet. And it was Chris that told Jamie, I'm going to financially take care of you. You can financially depend on me. You can take time off of work. You can quit work. And Jamie did that. She trusted her. She took her at her word. And now she's left high and dry. And she tells the camera directly, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay this month's rent. I don't know where that money is coming from. And that's just really, really sad. And I think perhaps another thing too that we're not seeing a lot of coverage of, and I wonder how much it was discussed between Chris and Jamie when they first got together. Again, the theme, what were y'all talking about before you even met up? But right, we cannot forget that Jamie is not from Colombia. Jamie is Venezuelan, and she is in Colombia, seeking better opportunities for herself, because the situation in Venezuela is very dire, right? Economically. Jamie also has relayed that she did not feel safe or comfortable living her life as a lesbian there. I wonder if Chris is coming and approaching Jamie just thinking, oh, well, she's Latina. She moved from one Latin, Spanish speaking country to another one. Those dynamics aren't there. When in reality, I think the truth is that Jamie is probably experiencing a very high level of discrimination, at least on the basis of her nationality.
Yeah, at the very, very least. And we've discussed, I think in a prior episode, about the ways that paternalism kind of works within their relationship, specifically around money and specifically around Chris saying, oh, you can quit your job or take a month off or whatever the agreement was, right? And I'll take care of you, which, it's not appropriate to say like, oh, Jamie shouldn't have believed her, right? Because if you're going to marry someone, your partner, and that's the life you've configured together, there's tons of relationships like that, like millions of relationships. And so Jamie took her at her word and she quit this job. And I think that personally, I think what we're watching is financial abuse, right? Because it's not just, I won't give you money, but it is, you take what I give you and then you make do with that and you go without certain needs. And because that's just how much I decided that you get. And then punishing her emotionally for needing more resources. That is what is really frightening to me.
Yeah, Chris, not good. Not
good. But it sounds like Jamie has a good social support system, hopefully. And, where they kind of leave off is that Chris says that she has a ticket booked for Bogota. So drama ensues.
Yeah. I was just going to say, we know that they are going to come back together at some point. Chris isn't going to totally fall off the map. They're going to be reunited, but I think that reunion's going to be pretty ugly.
Agreed.
Heavy sigh.
Yeah, heavy sigh. I kind of feel like we're going to have maybe like 2 more episodes with them and they'll just kind of go off into the sunset. Because I don't think there's anything to film there. I don't think there's anything to film. Right.
They're going to film the fights. They're going to film the drama. And then they're probably going to break up. I mean, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine what Chris would need to say to Jamie for their relationship to continue, because it does seem like Jamie is actively expressing that she's not okay with what's happening and that she understands that this treatment is not okay, not sustainable. She's not willing to stay in it. There's not going to be that much more, I don't think either.
No, but the last thing I wanted to mention is that we never really got an exploration into why Chris went off the map for a month before. And I just feel like if we had more of a backstory to that, we would know what's going on. I think I've mentioned before, a lot of people on Reddit are hypothesizing that, right, she has some sort of abuse of substances, or she at the very least is a narcissist, right? Because we can see the level of gaslighting that's going on when she talks to Jamie. And substance abuse would track with a type of like ghosting for a month and coming back. But I don't know. She could be in a relationship with someone else. I don't know, but something is not right. Something's wrong.
No, yeah. Hopefully we're gonna find out what it is, because this is craziness. I mean, I don't know if we've ever had a couple on 90 Day that just like ghosted in quite the same way.
I can think of a few couples who should have just ghosted.
Sure, but that is a different question. That is a different question, Dr. Molly. But
You're
yeah,
so right.
no, Chris just like dipped.
Yeah, she just did. So we'll see. Do you want to stay in Colombia and move on to Isabel and Gabe?
Sure. So basically going from a total trash fire to real harmony. Gabe and Isabel are doing pretty well. They are moving toward getting married. There are some bumps in the road, right? So in episode 12, Gabe's back in the US. He's visiting with his family. He's there again to fix his birth certificate so he can get all his legal documents in order to get married to Isabel. He tells his family he's engaged. They are hurt that they didn't know before. They're hurt that they haven't had the opportunity to meet her, but ultimately supportive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gabe is in his early 30s, right?
I think that's right, yeah.
Don't you feel like that's old enough to make your own decisions?
I do. Yes, I do.
But apparently, and this is interesting because it's not the mom. Usually we have a stronger mom figure. But this is Monica. This is his sister. And yeah, so he's back in Florida finishing up all of the documents. Monica feels very strongly that she wants to walk him down the aisle. She wants to be the one to give the groom away. And Isabel is like, well, I don't really know about all that. That seems very Monica forward, type of Monica forward wedding. And then Gabe, my brother Gabe opens his mouth and says things like, oh, well, she's worried that you're, going to take advantage of my business. And wonderful Isabel snapped back and says, I'm Colombian. If you're successful in Colombia, it's because of me. And I was like, correct. Mm-hmm. Correct. So you know what my main issue about this is? So the first episode to the episode 12 when he is in Colombia, and then episode 13 when his family comes to Colombia for the wedding. My main issue is that it's clear that, well, two things. Gabe has not been a good steward of his relationship with his mom and his sister in terms of just getting the talk of like, this is what you talk about and this is what you don't talk about, because there's things you can tell about your spouse or your partner that you can't come back from.
Sure.
And that's different for different family members, because someone like Monica sounds like she has a long memory. And so you don't need to be telling her everything. Mom maybe, but not Monica. And then the second thing is just generally having better boundaries. It sounds like he and his sister have been trauma bonded. They just keep saying things like it's always just been us. She's really worried about him. She called it overprotective. I'm totally on board for overprotective siblings, whatever. But this into the 30s, I don't know about this. This is a little unhealthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely more to the story than what we're seeing here, because everything that has come out of Gabe's mouth in terms of how he has characterized the relationship with his sister is not tracking with the actual lived experience engagements that we're seeing. And she even says that, and Isabel says that, like, wow, I was always told that y'all were super close. What have you been talking about, if not about the fact that you're, going to ask me to marry you? And, so right. Like, I want to know kind of what's going on there. Also, it's hard for me in my mind. For some reason, I keep thinking that they're twins, but they are not twins.
They look so much alike. They
She's
all look the
younger than
same
him.
way.
I totally, from the beginning of the season, have had them just like in my mind as twins. And I almost feel like they even have a little bit of that like twin type of interaction, like deep engagement in each other's life and business. And but they're not. She's the younger sister. And you know, it wouldn't be 90 Day Fiancé if there wasn't a family member or a friend stirring some stuff up. And finally, we're getting that with Gabe and Isabel.
Yeah, I mean, I think they don't really have real issues, and so that's why they have these external kind of factors, or like they throw in these wrenches into their storyline to be like, oh, how are they going to react? How are they going to react?
Right.
I forgot that she was the little sister. I didn't know that, Dr. Rural. So yeah, that's such an interesting dynamic. But you can see at that dinner, which was great. Like Isabel has some great comebacks, and she's like, "Oh, you're so close. How come all your information is inaccurate?" Like I loved that. Oh, I love me
Isabel,
a petty lady. So she's Gabe's body language at that dinner is like he's literally folding into himself and he shrinks down. And again, I think that, he's just been saying all the negative stuff. But then his sister says, like, why are you talking about the negative stuff all the time? He's like, because you ask me, I'm always telling you everything is good and everything is great. And then you say, what's the issue?
right.
And yeah, and that's like, again, that's a boundary thing where Gabe should just be like, I know you're looking for issues, but there are no issues, right? And maybe she's, there's a little bit of, like you said, the twin stuff is a little bit of codependency, like she's afraid of losing him or the intimacy that she has with him to another person. But man, I think Monica is the person in the family that when she is upset, everyone steps out of the way and goes to their room and just pretends like they're dead, because even her boyfriend was like,
Yeah, I mean, Monica had some really choice words for some of Gabe's exes. I mean, I was thinking about those poor people. Like, if they watch this show, I'd be like, oh my God, wow, his sister really hated me. Yeah, Monica she was a lot. And of course, a prenup, right? If you want drama on television, bring up a prenup.
which, okay, I mean, I feel like you know more about legal stuff than I do, Dr. Rule, but why would a prenup wouldn't be enforceable in Colombia? Would it be if his assets aren't even in Colombia?
Well, I think it depends on how, right, like how his assets are structured. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know, right? I'm sure you could do some type of a prenup in Colombia. We have every indication that they're getting married in Colombia and not the US. So I don't think it would make sense for them to do a prenup in the US and then get married in Colombia. But also, like, now that he is working on becoming a permanent resident of Colombia, like I wonder if he's going to transfer his business assets to there. Like I don't know exactly, but I just love that Isabel was like, I would sign one. I mean, she just like shut that conversation down.
Yeah, I don't know. She's like, Monica says, I have the impression that you've been like really domineering and jealous or whatever. And then she just isn't. And I'm like, that's just the best game to play. Isabel really played the best game. And just as a reminder for folks, I think there's just like a fundamental misunderstanding what prenups are. And then 90 Day Fiancé and these dating shows, they capitalize on people's misunderstanding of prenups. The prenup only protects things that you have accumulated while you're married. Was that right? So all this whole idea of things, or is it the other way around? So this whole idea that like you're gonna steal all of the money that I made before, you actually don't have a right to it because we weren't together. Is that right? Is that how it works? Or is it the other way around?
I think a more accurate way to think about it is that you can write the prenup however you want to write the prenup. Right. Yeah. If you want to say that you want to protect all of the assets that you brought to the marriage, and keep things separate and, keep it very clear, like, okay, I own this property. You don't own that, even though now we're getting married. You can write it that way, or you can write it in such a way that it delineates, things that you do in a marriage or in a relationship that would only be, exclusive to one particular partner. Like, you can really write it with whatever kinds of like terms and stipulations you want. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's really just a contract between two parties going into it, or going into a marriage and deciding whatever they want that to look like, right? Like on the Real Housewives, for example, some of them talk about things like fidelity clauses, right? A fidelity clause is not necessarily part of every prenup. That's something just that they want, right? To protect, to protect their assets in the case of cheating, or, punish the other partner in the case of cheating, right? It just kind of depends. So again, I almost wonder if the prenup conversation was manufactured, because it clearly didn't hold a lot of water.
Yeah. Just as an aside, Dr. Rule, I have a very good friend who is also a professor who is getting married, and she has a fidelity clause that if she is cheated on, she gets $1 million.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that exists. But not every prenup
Exactly.
has something like that.
And it doesn't have to be about big stuff. It can be like, I don't want you to have my collection of superhero, I don't know,
Yeah.
like anything. So
we need to get Bilal and Shida on the show to talk about their prenup.
Oh God, yeah, right.
Right, like, but she had this baby clause, she used to call it, right? I mean, that's the kind of thing that, again, is just indicative of the personalization. Exactly. So, right, like, I don't even really think Monica even really knew what she was talking about. She's just like, I think throwing like some subtle shade that she thinks that Isabel is after Gabe's assets, and we really also don't even know what those are. I hope Gabe are doing really well, but we don't totally know.
Yeah, we don't even see where they live. We don't know anything about them. I don't see the kids around. Like, I don't know any, and that's fine. Like, maybe they want the kids off the camera, but we don't know about that. We always see them at bars. I just realized that.
Or working out. They work out a lot on their segments.
They're working on their fitness, okay?
I think that was pretty much it. Gabe and Isabel, they're gonna be fine.
We'll be fine. And we hear next week that like, oh, Monica says she's not coming. I doubt that.
Monica's gonna come. She literally flew to Colombia. She's gonna go to the wedding.
I think Monica kind of wants the day to be about her. And so that's why Monica is making it about her. Like, I'm not coming, just kidding, I am. But
right.
Anyways.
No, she is. She wants to be on TV. It's okay.
She does. So who would you like to go to next? Because I've chosen the last two.
Okay. You left me with all of the real problematic people. Let's go to Danielle and Johan.
Okay.
So we have spillover from the previous episodes where Danielle ruins Johan's birthday party. He doesn't acknowledge her at the birthday dinner, doesn't really thank her. And all of that birthday tension is wrapped up in the fact that she is planning to see her ex the day after, or shortly after. She told Johan the day before his birthday that her ex is coming to town and she wants to get together with him. So that's the whole reason for all their tension around his birthday.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we get in her talking head that she's like, I don't want to be married to a man that gets jealous. And Taylin is a great friend of mine, so I'm going to go meet with him. And so we see her on this kind of catamaran or boat thing with Taylin.
Okay, and I just want to say, can we add that to the list? That can go on things I would like to do. That little boat cruise, river cruise thing looked really fun.
It looked really, really fun. And they were talking about BS. So they were talking about nothing the entire time. So I'm sure they didn't get to enjoy it. But she meets individually with him first. I also wanted to mention, oh wait, no. Okay, I'm getting my episodes mixed up, so I don't want to talk about that yet. So she's on this little cruise, and basically the whole conversation is Taylor says some really weird stuff about her, about how she was basically like his spiritual mentor. They were hanging out until the next stage of their lives. My first thing when I heard all of this, by the way, Dr. Roll, was like, oh, she looks young. She likes younger guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can now say that with some confidence, right?
She
Like
likes
this
younger
is
guys
a
that she
pattern.
can, yeah, that she can control and that she can initiate. That was like the vibe that I got. And he's someone that's like really important to her. She basically says that Johan's been hiding his personality for the past year, and now this is just coming up. But I would like to also know how much time they've actually spent together and how much time they've been around each other. Like, I feel like they've been together too long to still be living in a vacuum. You know, when you're in the honeymoon phase and you haven't met anybody's anything?
I mean, come on. Like, I'm not saying that Johan's behavior was right here. I'm not
Yeah.
validating his disapproval of her spending any time with somebody that she had a previous relationship with. But I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think Johan's consistent. And that if Danielle had brought up 6 months ago, whatever it was, oh yeah, I'm like really still friends with my ex, and like we go out and get together sometime, Johan would have been like, no. What?
Oh,
There's no world where Johan swept that under the rug.
no, I think maybe she's feeling a little more free now that she's locked him down and they're married.
Yeah.
And she feels like she can kind of pull shit. But basically she meets with Taylor. I mean, I would agree with them. You know, there's no chemistry there, I don't think. They just want to be friends. No. And so she goes home and he's like, Johan's like, oh, you're cooking now? Like, you never really cook or whatever. Basically implying that she's trying to butter him up because she was just out with her ex. And I was like, I definitely think that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, she made him some like pasta with shrimp.
Oh my god, that shrimp made me go somewhere though. I was like, that sounds so good.
Buttery pasta to butter him up. Yes.
So then she's like, I really want you to meet him. And I was like, I thought that the drama was over. I thought that he just didn't want her to meet up with him. And I was like, now you're forcing him to meet with him?
Okay, I was just gonna say, but this is classic Danielle. Just push, 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 right? Like it's not enough that she went and did the thing that her husband's not okay with. Again, and I'm not putting a value judgment on it, whether it's right or wrong for him to not be okay with it. But he's very clear. He's not wishy-washy about it. He has a fully formulated notion that that's not cool with him. She goes and she does it. And then she says, you have to meet him. Like, it's just unnecessary. He doesn't want to meet him. There's not a world where they're going to be friends. Why? Why, Danielle?
Poking the bear. And I'm not saying that this is emotional immaturity per se, as Danielle says that Johan's immature, but the level of pettiness he engages when he meets Taylin, I'm like, girl, you set that up for yourself. You know who your husband is. Like, yes, was it like really rude and kind of inappropriate? Yeah, but I don't think that's beneath a lot of people to act that way. Like, I didn't want to come here. Y'all are forcing me to be here, and so now I'm being rude.
Yeah.
But when
Johan was extremely petty.
Oh God, I was like triggered. Remind me of my ex. So it's like, ugh.
He even made fun of his pink cohort.
Yeah, there's a lot of casual homophobia going on. I was like, Johan, we don't need to go down there. He's like, if I were wearing that color, I would like go home and burn it or what? I don't know, whatever he said.
I think he said he would rather die.
Okay, bro.
Right. Like, unnecessary, Johan.
It's totally unnecessary. But sorry, there's a car alarm going off in the background. I wanted to tell, I'm sorry, everyone, but I just refused to close my window because in Maryland, we get like terrible weather and I just feel like it's kind of nice outside. But I wanted to show Dr. Rule something. So when we were in the scene where Danielle's getting ready to go out to meet Taylin with Johan, on the bed, she has some witchy items. And one of them is this same tarot deck that I have, but it gets better. So I don't use this tarot deck anymore because the person that created them was outed as white. And it was like, yeah. So like, as like a major appropriator of Ifa and of Black Caribbean culture. And I was like, there could not be a more on the nose material object in that hotel room.
Oh my God. Deep readings, material culture. Wow. Appropriation.
I was like, no, I mean, it epitomizes her.
That's really funny. See, like I did not notice. I wouldn't know. That is a wild detail.
If y'all are interested, it's called the Orisha Tarot. So, yeah.
Wow.
That's it.
Danielle.
But I know. So she meets up with Talon. Johan makes fun of his clothes, and basically they go down this questioning path where Johan's like, what size feet do you have? You know, saying like Danielle likes people with big dicks. Which is totally inappropriate, but also I'm like, she totally does.
It was very inappropriate. I thought that Talon handled it pretty well. I mean, you know, like, right, like they didn't really get into it. Talon was like, this is stupid. Danielle cried, and I agree. Like, you know, Johan was just trying to embarrass her, which was not nice. But I don't know what she thought. Like, did she just think that he really just had like a change of heart? Like, okay, I'll go meet him and now we're going to be best friends. Like, I don't know what
she asked for it. She asked for it.
I don't know what she was thinking was going to happen.
I don't know either, but I don't agree with her. Okay, so I agree with you and Danielle when she says he wanted her to look bad, but I don't agree that it was because he's so insecure. I think that he's actually operating more on principle, where he just thinks it's fundamentally disrespectful. And Talon asked him, he's like, do you trust Danielle? And what does he respond to that? Do you remember? I don't even remember. I think
he says he does trust his wife, which is the correct answer. He's like, I trust my wife, but she does things that make me lose that trust, or something like that. Like this, like wanting to do this.
And then forcing me to do it. Yeah. Like, if it were, she just met up with him and then they would, you know, deal with that. Oh, maybe, okay. But forcing him to go on this, I think is a whole other level. It's a whole other level. Yeah. It's not just trust of her not cheating for me. It's trust that like he set a boundary and she was like, no.
Yeah, because I agree. I don't think for Johan it's about him being concerned that she's gonna leave him. Maybe if she left him, he'd be like, okay. I don't think it's about that. I think it's on principle. It's like a cultural difference that they have. Like, you don't spend time with your ex, period. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I'm not saying that that's a right or a wrong take on the situation, but he's just very clear. Like, in his world and in his value, you know, alignment, married people don't spend time with their exes. He doesn't spend time with his exes. She shouldn't spend time with her exes. And she wanted to do that. And again, I just can't believe that it didn't come up before. I just can't believe it didn't come up before.
I think that she's also going down a dark road because Johan has proved himself as a petty man. And if he wants to be petty, watch him bring another woman around. Woo-wee! You think that she could handle that? Absolutely not.
She couldn't even like handle the conversation about his ex having an abortion. Remember that?
She has that energy where she's like, you've never been with anyone before me. I need you to like, I need you to realize that.
Yeah, for real. It would not go well, but yeah, they just continue to be a disaster. And Danielle keeps saying things like, you know, I could never be with a man that's so close-minded and so on and so forth. I feel like she's been saying this type of thing every week for the last couple of weeks. Like, if he thinks I'm not going to drive the car, he's in for a real disaster. Like, but they just keep accumulating different things.
I think she thinks that these younger men are just big balls of clay. and that she can make them like accessories in her little Love in Paradise dollhouse, and she can just move these pieces. And Johan's like, no, like, and by the way, everyone, he still thinks he's going to New York. That was never resolved. So
Never resolved.
dark.
Okay, speaking of people who think they're going somewhere that they're not, should we talk about Debbie and Oussama?
Oh man, I didn't really see this coming.
I mean, that went from like 0 to 100.
I mean, Debbie and Oussama delivered us probably what's going to be some of the most iconic scenes or memes from 90 Day. I'm thinking,
Yes.
I mean, it's like episode 12. We started out with her singing to the donkey, and I was like, oh, this is a tune. I thought she kept going. It's like a little donkey song.
Yeah. A full donkey song. But wait, can we just back up a minute? So she meets his parents. They're nice. They exchange gifts. I thought his family was, I just have to say, like really lovely toward her.
Yeah. No, they're
Like,
amazing.
They kudos to them.
Yeah. Amazing. And then but she does not like the accommodations. She said, there is make and do, but honey, this is make and don't. Like, that is an iconic line.
Yeah. She's like, it was an act of God that I was able to get ready this morning.
I love Debbie. I love the way she talks.
Yeah, I do too. She has these awesome one-liners. Yeah. And then of course, they all think that she's taking Oussama to the US, which is not the case.
Which is not the case, according to Debbie.
According to Debbie.
So do you believe her that she was like, we've never discussed this?
I think that they have discussed it. And I think that they heard what they wanted to hear, which was two different things. I think that they brought it up. I think she said something like, of course I'm going to go back to the US. I have to visit my kids. And I think he heard, we're going to the US because we're married, and that's going to be my wife.
That's a really great point. I bet she did say something like, oh, every couple of months I'll go back and visit my son. And he took that as, oh, we'll stay here in my mom's house for 2 months and then you'll go back.
Yeah, that's how I would read it. I think they both had their wishful thinking, selective hearing ears on, and between that and the language barrier, yeah. I mean, I think if I had to say who's in the wrong, it's Oussama. Like, he made it much more black and white and clear that they were going to the US than I think Debbie ever made it. Because again, like, she packed up her whole life. She like sold all her stuff and is getting her furniture shipped to Morocco. I mean, it's not casual at all.
You're right. No, it's totally not. And she felt so blindsided. So she tries to clear this up with him when they're out one night painting, which is gorgeous, by the way. I would love to go.
The donkey. I was so scared when she fell off the donkey.
Didn't she say, she's like, it's because my butt is too small.
Yeah.
I love that.
You are elderly. Thank God you didn't just get hurt.
I was thinking that too. I was like, this isn't like a joke, Debbie. Like, that's not.
She ate it. She was on the ground. I don't think I would do well if I fell off a donkey.
I don't think I do well if I fell off a donkey now.
Right.
I'd be sore.
Maybe I don't know. I'd like to hear about that.
I'd like to hear about that too. But I mean, her in that blue ensemble falling off that donkey is everywhere on the interwebs. I'll tell you that right now. So they're talking and they're painting, and man, we really see the other side of Oussama when she's like, it makes me feel hurt inside that you thought that you were going to the US and we had this misunderstanding. And he's like, we can't.
I'm just vocalizing like Debbie, who was really struggling to read the room.
She was really struggling to read the room. Like, it was not time to talk about that. It was nighttime. Uh, also act like that during nighttime, where I'm like, we're not having major conversations right now. It's just not happening. But yeah, so she's basically like, he's like, no, we're going to America. She feels like he flipped the script. And then we get what the next day, her FaceTiming Julian. Oh God.
Julian comes back.
Julian, he's like Captain America, like America's cop. And he just looks, he's like so upset. He's like, this guy is playing you. It's time to head back. It's not time for I told you so. It's time to get you back here. I'm like, oh God. And it's clear that she's like, no, not yet.
Yeah. No, they're gonna make up.
Oh, for sure. It's for sure. And it's like, I get that he dropped a bomb on her, but again, I was like, Debbie, you can't be telling Julian this type of stuff. It's already bad as it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Julian's not gonna forgive him for this.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that scene was just classic. Like where Oussama, he was like, I'm trying to create. She's like, well, we can create and talk. And he's like, no, we can't. I have one brain, not two. Like, ooh, throwing daggers out here.
Oussama. I feel like Oussama is neuro-expansive, and I think that is unrecognized by Debbie. Yeah, and I think we've seen it a few times in his relationship with like his cats, and when he says things like, oh, I just want to be alone up in the hill or in the mountains with away from people and just be with my cats. And then also him getting like really irritated, when she's like, you said this and you said that, and he's like, he gets very flustered about that. I think that there's a language barrier, but I think there also might be some neuro-expansiveness going on.
Yeah. And then she just like berates him, and he just mirrors it back to her.
Exactly. And she says, what does she say? A door opened and a poem came through, and I'll never read another poem again.
She just like speaks in poetry.
She does. She speaks in proverbs. I'm like, oh wow, dang.
Proverbs. That was the word I was looking for. Like rhymes and riddles.
But Debbie said something really key, and I forget how she phrased it, but she used the phrase, this is not just a physical relationship. And I was like, oh, it's not just a physical relationship?
Okay, you literally just read my mind, Dr. Molly. That's the next point I was going to make.
So what's been going on?
I mean, she definitely indicated that there was some physicality, but that it was not the focus. But there's something. That's what she said.
That blew me away. I mean, physicality.
They're a couple. I mean, they have a romantic.
Yeah, but he says that like Islam is the most important thing to him, and that's forbidden before marriage. Even the fact that his family is okay with a woman that they're not engaged staying with them, like that does not fly in the Moroccan household.
Yeah, at
all. So I don't know what. I do see, like, based on the reactions, I think his family is definitely like more chill. I mean, we know that, period. But that is really surprising to me.
I mean, okay, I want to back up. I don't necessarily think they're like going to bed together.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they're like kissing.
Yeah, holding hands. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
And like maybe that's kind of what I interpreted it to mean. I did not get the idea that they were having like intercourse from her statement.
I guess I just don't get the feeling that, not even that they're not having it, I just thought no one desired it.
Yeah.
I was picking up on a lack of just wanting to be physical. So that was just, oh, chicken.
Speaking of cats.
Oh, you love when we're talking about these little shows. You just want to take a bath on camera.
Yeah.
So risque. She thinks you have She thinks you have a different type of job.
She heard we were talking about Oussama and the cat.
Oh, she's like, I want a Moroccan pen pal. Put a little
Yeah.
paw print on the stamp. I want a kitty
See,
so bad.
this is why you have to watch our video. If you are not already, this is why you need to watch the video. Crime.
And I do want to point out, even though I'm not supposed to do this, that Dr. Roll also had like a Kurt Cobain pillow in the background before. So that was really gives us a glimpse into her life.
Okay, let's just have like a quick side note about that. I have had that pillow since I was like 12 years old.
Aww.
I have carried that thing around with me forever. And yes, I like Nirvana. And I have liked Nirvana for a long time.
Everyone loves Nirvana. It's classic. My 3-year-old daughter has a Nirvana shirt and she calls it her Nirvana shirt because she knows what it is because she listens to it.
It's good stuff. Good stuff.
It's good stuff. Classic music.
Okay, again, little sidetrack. I once had a yard sale and I sold the pillow, actually. I know, sharp inhale. I sold it because I thought it was just time to move on and I wanted like different decor and I wanted a different aesthetic direction in my life. I sold it, the person paid me, left with it, and then I like ran after them down the street, gave them their money back and took the pillow back and like took it inside. It's like, I cannot part with the pillow.
This is, wow, it's a spiritual object for you.
True story, true story. Love the pillow.
My mom had a garage sale when I was 5 and tried to sell the velvet turtleneck, the sleeveless velvet turtleneck that was purple that I pictured in my kindergarten picture. And some lady said she was going to buy it and I ripped it from the hanger and I threw a tantrum and the lady left and my mom was like, we lost a sale.
Oh no. Also, that turtleneck was probably totally back in style now.
I will probably post the photo of it. No, I put it in my chest and I told my mom I was keeping it because I wanted to get married in it.
Ah, lovely. Lovely.
I mean, these are things we need to think about when you're 5. So disturbing. Okay, well, I'm glad you have the pillow. I'm glad Chicken is here. Although Chicken's not even saying anything and just getting free airtime, but whatever.
Contribute, Chicken. Contribute.
Yeah, it's Chicken's contract. Okay, so should we go on to our last couple, Jen and Rishi?
Oh my God. No, we have 2. We have Jen and Rishi and Nicole and Mahmoud. Pick your poison.
Oh, well, let's do Nicole and Mahmoud because there's really nothing to say there. I mean, we only got like 1 scene from them, right? Or 2 scenes, 2 scenes.
A little bit.
Okay, so basically Mahmoud is trying to butter her up, takes her to a little kitty home. I really want a cat, everybody. This is why Chicken's been coming around.
Yeah.
So basically, she's been thinking about a cat and Mahmoud wants her to feel like more at home and they go to look at the kitties. And I thought that I would see some of her personality open up, but she doesn't. Like, she's so stuffy to me. I wonder what she's like when she has like a drink in her or something. But she basically tells him that she doesn't want to get a cat because she feels like she might be leaving. She wants to go back to America and she wants him to come with.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
I mean, that was the plot twist for me, was that she wanted him to come and that she was inviting him to come. I mean, they keep saying that the problem is not their relationship, that the problem is the setting. I don't know how much of that I buy though. So
no, 0.
Yeah, so I was surprised that she said, I can't live in Egypt, but I don't want to end the relationship. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I guess if that happens, maybe they're going to be a couple. I hope not. A couple on just the classic 90-day next season. But we have an interview with Mahmoud's brother who talks about the fact that he thinks that Mahmoud would not do well in the US. I
really love his brother, by the way.
His brother seems like a really nice, helpful guy. Like, he seems like deeply invested in the well-being of his little brother.
Yeah. And yeah, and he's like willing to admit where he's not perfect and, impart his wisdom. And I really liked where he just said it very clearly. He's like, I lived in China for 3 years. Like, you're never going to feel at home.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's been trying to get him to understand with his wife, Nicole, that Nicole is also never going to feel like she's at home. And so what are you going to do with that? Like, I don't know. I just really appreciate that he said that. He's like, it's going to be lonely, all of these things. But I was like, I'm shocked that he's just never been there at all. I was shocked at that. And she doesn't live in, she's not one of these couples that lives in Wyoming or whatever. I was like, she lives in LA. He might dig it. I mean, I don't think he's going to socially like it. I think it's going to be way too much. Like Los Angeles socially and culturally is going to be too much. But I think he might be like, okay, like it's kind of sunny, it's relaxed. My wife is in such a better mood.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Except that we know that when she goes back to LA, she's going to be wearing short sleeves.
But I think that's what she wants to test out is this him being dogmatic and controlling, right? Or is this him using like the environment as his, I don't know. You do not like instrumentalizing their environment.
Yes. And I think that's absolutely her agenda. But like in the conversation he has with his brother, though, he says, I'm going to be the same there as I am here, which we know is not 100% possible, but that's at least his intention, and I think specifically he also says, I'm Muslim here, I'm going to be Muslim there. And he's expecting his wife to be Muslim in Egypt and Muslim in LA. And the problem is that she's not identifying as Muslim anywhere.
That is the problem.
That's the issue that they just haven't talked about.
Right. And another problem is that they just don't get along.
Like they also just fight.
Just fight. The one thing I would say that if there's one thing I could fight for if I were on the side of Nicole, I would say that at least he has an understanding of English. She doesn't know any Arabic. And so when he's in LA, at the very least, he can go to a mosque and communicate.
That's true. That's
the only thing I would ever say in her favor. But I don't even think he's going to go. I think that he's going to be like, you go, I'm going to come a couple months later. And I don't think anything's happening. They'll continue their long distance marriage.
I hope that they don't just get put on regular 90 Day Fiancé. I hope that they don't make us watch them again for another season. But that's probably where this is going. If I was a betting person, no, you don't think so?
I'm just shaking my head in general. I was just thinking, wow, I just went somewhere. I was thinking about the scene where he was running after her in the street.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's just really icky. But sorry, what would you bet if you were a betting person?
I think they're probably going to get the visa approved and appear on regular 90 Day Fiancé and track them bringing Mahmoud to the US.
I just don't think the audience likes them enough.
I hope not. I hope we have like a collective.
Yeah.
We don't want more of them.
I don't think she's likable enough. Although I would love to see some more footage like in LA. Like I think that's really fun. Again, like most of the kind of rub we get are people living in these bumfuck nowhere places. Sorry, I know they're America's towns, but I feel like I can say that because I'm from a bumfuck nowhere place in Wisconsin. Dr. Roll's face. But seeing someone in LA and just like those are different cultural things. It's not like, oh, I'm in a small town, so everybody asks where I'm from. You can be in LA and not speak English and no one will ask you where you're from. Right. But he might feel, I don't know, he'll just have different cultural moments where it's like, oh, why are we in West Hollywood and two men are holding hands? Like it'll just be a different type of cultural shock, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I want it for him on a personal level. Maybe I want it for them. I just don't want it for me as a viewer. I would start a GoFundMe to get that man on an ayahuasca trip and send him to Joshua Tree because I'm like, just loosen the grip, my brother. But no, I don't think he's gonna enjoy it. Oh my God. I'm having like a delayed laugh. I had to like process what you just said.
Sometimes my references go like really deep, but also If you wanted to put that on the
So
list.
specific.
So I haven't been on Airbnb at all today, so I don't know where all that came from.
I would say the only other, no, I guess there are two more interesting things about their segment. The first is that Nicole explicitly says that she's not going to pursue a friendship with the woman who led her mindfulness meditation yoga session, which, yeah, like that manufactured drama moment is over. She's like, we're not really going to be friends.
You mean the PA that they hired?
Yeah. And then the other thing is like when she goes grocery shopping with her sister-in-law Fatima, and Nicole just like can't. It was interesting to get the insight into Nicole not being able to do really basic things.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of, there's a segment with Jenny and Sumit on one of their, I don't know, season shows somewhere, where, you know what I'm talking about, where Jenny goes grocery shopping,
yeah,
and more or less gets like totally ripped off in India. And there's a couple of times where she says like, no, I know you're trying to rip me off, like I know that that's wild, but in the end, I mean, she basically comes home and she says, look, I'm a blonde white American woman, I don't speak any of the languages that the people in my community speak here in India. I need to go grocery shopping because I'm a resident and I live here. And like part of that means that, I pay a little bit of an inflated price. And, she's like, I don't like it. It's not cool, but it's part of it. And I just kind of appreciated that sense of like, it's almost like the tax of, doing something, right? Like, I want to do it enough, so I'm going to take some of the bad stuff that comes along with it. And Nicole just had none of that. Nicole was just like, this is too much. This is overwhelming. Like, I would rather starve than
the tax of whiteness that Jenny just assumed, But I also think I feel like I'm on a bad trend of diagnosing everyone, but the marketplace was really where we saw, and I called this before, Nicole's social anxiety, right? Because she's not pointing,
Yes.
Sorry, y'all, I live in a flight path, but it's not so much, I don't know how to speak the language. It wasn't even any of that. It was like sensorially, she was overwhelmed. She was like, there's so many people, it's so loud, the smells were so strong. Like, that's not like I can't assimilate. That's a sensory thing.
Okay, I did have one legitimate question though. She has been to Egypt before. How has she never seen a live chicken for sale?
You live
Remember
in
she had like, she got such a kick out of that. She was like, oh my God, they're selling live chickens.
No, the first scene that we ever meet Nicole in the first episode is her at the Los Angeles swap meet. You cannot tell me you have never been to the Santa Monica market and seen a live chicken. You can never tell me that. It was just like, I also see this as like, it's like the exoticism or like the Orientalism.
Yes.
Or of what we think about the Middle East. Like, oh my God, there's a live chicken. Like, sweetie, where do you think this stuff comes from? All of your like grass-fed chickens, by the way, are raised close to home because you like free range stuff in LA, I'm sure. So I don't know. I'm like, I just think it's so needless. And in her hatred for where she's at and for her marriage, it just seeps into every interaction that she has with any object or human.
Yeah. Somebody could write I'm just like totally going into academic mode. I was going to say somebody could write a really interesting article, maybe it'll be us, about like food cultures in the 90-day world. Like, because again, Jenny and Sumit, that segment I just talked about, this segment with the live chicken with Nicole, what's her face, Danielle going to Johan's meat market, like, and the cake shop. There's so much around food and food markets.
Yeah, and it's really one of the ways that like the cultural differences are etched in, not necessarily in like, oh, we eat different foods, but how you procure certain foods, like the fact that they can just go buy food in a lot of instances, the refrigeration. You're totally right.
Forthcoming co-authored piece, Dr. Molly and Dr. Rule.
There's so
Keep
many
your eyes
that
out.
there's so many. Okay, anything else to say about them? I don't even think we're going to see them on the next episode. I think they're just going to drag this storyline into oblivion and be like, oh, Mahmoud and Nicole are still deciding if they want him to move.
They're just waiting on the visa. Yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully we'll be spared. Okay, should we go to Rishi and Jin?
Oh my God.
Okay, okay. I love that you reacted that way because they were the most painful for me these past 2 episodes.
They are turning into, like, you should see my notes. I have so many notes on them. Basically me just doing a line by line of what they all say, because everything that they say is so inappropriate. It makes me so uncomfortable.
Can I just go in like with one just directly in?
Mm-hmm.
I thought this the moment I watched it, and I've been holding it until we had the opportunity to talk about it. Like, okay, Jen's friend Randy, okay, the one who is the what interventionalist, trained interventionalist, the one who like totally steps out of place and tells Rishi's family that Jen and Rishi are engaged. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but like in all of her supposed hours of training as an interventionalist, nobody taught her cultural competency. This
I'm
was
trained.
so bad. This was so bad.
I'm trained to deliver hard news to families. I have training in that. So I know how to frame it, oh, congratulations, your son is not addicted to drugs. What? White lady just coming in my house saying that? I mean, okay, so I got really uncomfortable the first thing, or the first scene, when Jen is like, well, I'm more nervous for the translator, because like I don't know what you don't know what you're stepping into, and I'm like, so you acknowledge, and then the translator goes, oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, the poor translator.
And then she says, like, when I first saw her, I was really worried because she's so young and pretty. I wonder if Rishi's going to find her attractive. I was like, whoa, we have bigger fish to fry than are we getting married.
But then Rishi affirmed it. He was like, it's kind of a shame that the translator is so attractive and young. Because my mom is going to think that would be a perfect match.
Yeah. And so Jen, they all sit down. It's so awkward. They're all wearing, it's just, oh my God. They meet at his house. They meet with his mom and his uncle and then Rishi. And they just start interrogating and going down like, did you wonder why Jen was coming and asking all those questions? And the mom's like, I don't know. Like, Rishi's eyeballs, the way he was looking at Jen, were like, I will murder you.
Dr. Molly, literally, I made a note that Rishi was like clawing eyes out. He literally had his fingers like sinking in and like pulling his lower lid down. I mean, he was inflicting physical pain because the emotional pain was too much to contain inside.
Yeah, and then he basically, so within the first 2 seconds of this whole scene, I realized, I was like, this isn't about Jen being in a relationship with Rishi and forcing him to take accountability. This is forcing Rishi, or it's Jen forcing Rishi to be in a relationship with her on her terms. And it was also, I think, to embarrass him. And I never use this word because I don't know my relationship to it, but emasculate him into being like, you can't take the reins, so I will. And now I'm going to basically force you into a corner where you have to be in a relationship with me, because what are you going to do? Deny this in front of your parents? No. It was like so uncomfortable. And like, I realized too, when it was all done, I know I'm jumping ahead, and he's like crying on that bed, that although he kind of phrased it as like, oh, I wanted to wait till August 2nd, like this astrological date, it was really about him just needing more time to introduce her to the family. And basically, like, he didn't say this, but I think it was the strategy of like, he just wanted her to be in love with, or them to be in love with her, so that when he said, oh, I want to get married to her, they're like, oh, of course, we'll make it work. But no.
Yeah. But no.
But no, and I love that. So after it's all done, it's so awkward. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you some time to think this over and give you space." Like again, controlling the space when they're allowed to think things over, right? Because now it's okay. It wasn't okay to wait until August 2nd before. Now it's okay. And now Rishi comes out and he basically is like, "Oh, I'm glad that you did that." I was like, "Rishi?"
Okay. But I have something to say about this. I think this might be a cultural difference. In fact, I think it probably must be a cultural difference because his mom and his uncle, when they're in the one-on-one interviews, right, with the camera, they say explicitly that they're not okay with this, but they feel like they can't say that they're not okay with it. They can't say no in front of this whole group of people, right? So there's an element of decorum, right? You know, that they're going to say like, okay, yeah, we're okay with this, we're happy about this, right? But they never were. Like they never changed their mind. I think they just, yeah, I don't know, like they weren't going to, I don't know, either like evoke that embarrassment or breach that like mood or be that confrontational, but it was never okay. And then, you know, Jen and her friends leave and the translator leaves and it's just the family and they're like, no,
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
not. No.
And Rishi's like, "Well, why did you say yes in there?" And she goes, "I didn't say yes." Mom goes, "No,
Right.
who said yes? No one said yes."
Right.
And she was like, she brought her friends for support. We need to consult with our family and community for support because that's how marriages are made in their culture. And she's like, we need support. And then she starts to ask questions and she's like, well, first of all, how old is she? And he's like, oh, 48.
And the
his mom,
uncle's like, don't mess around. Tell me how old she is. He's like, don't play. You know how old that woman is.
Didn't he call him by his full name or something?
Something.
Yeah, it was
He got
hilarious.
real serious.
Yeah, uncle was not messing around.
No.
And then he says it and his mom goes, oh, well, there's no point of even bringing this to the family because it's already an automatic no. She's too old. And
Automatic no.
yeah, and I don't know. I felt like really, I kind of loved this for them. Like, really, how dare some white lady come in our house and basically say, I'm in a relationship with your son and you need to be okay with it. By the way, I loved that and again, they said it with like total respect and not that they have to act a certain way or be respectable, but they were like, do you realize that he's our sole provider and that he cannot leave? And she's like, well, I'd rather live in Mumbai. And they're like, okay.
Great. Go ahead.
But he provides for us. Like, what are we supposed to do? Yeah, and he's like crying about it afterward. He's like, I get where they're coming from culturally, but this just like really hurts. And so Dr. Rule, did you see this video that Jen released online about all this?
No, I didn't. Leave it to you to find the good extra content.
I know, laying in bed at night when I should be sleeping. So she released this video. Again, Jen looks so busted in her videos. I don't give a fuck. She looks so busted. She's always like crying and like definitely has been drinking. So it's like really inappropriate. So she's like, I just want to say for all of you people that are like, oh, I just marched into the lives of this innocent family. And, you know, I just ruined their day by demanding a relationship with their son. I just want to let you all know that this is the family that told Rishi that he can't choose a wife that is dark skinned. He can't choose a wife that is short, and he can't choose a wife that's uneducated. So you know, this nice family that you think is so nice, they're actually not nice at all. And I was like, oh, zinger.
Look, nobody's talking about them. Like,
Who's talking about them?
Nobody's saying that they're this like, you know, perfect family. Nobody's saying, we're just saying that your behavior was inappropriate. That's it.
Period.
What's happening? Your
Yeah.
behavior was inappropriate, Jen.
Like, nice trying to drop the bomb of the colorism going on in India when we all have Netflix and have seen Indian Matchmaker. Like,
shocker.
again, and this is one of the things about our podcast, right, that I think we do very well, is that these aren't just things that exist out there. Like colorism exists in the US, it exists all the time everywhere. Like these are actually conversations that lots of Black families say. I actually have a friend who was going to get married to I was thinking about him when we're covering April and Love in Paradise, and April's from New
Yes.
Orleans. Yeah,
Yes.
my friend was engaged to a well-to-do woman, Black woman from an established family in New Orleans. And although he's an Ivy League graduate, her dad told him behind closed doors that that he would let her, or he said that he approved of the marriage because he wasn't too dark. Only because he wasn't too dark, and he didn't like the schools that he went to, but because they weren't prestigious enough within the Ivy League.
Yeah.
So it's just an example. These things exist.
Right. They absolutely exist. I mean, I just don't think that there's any way you can cut it where Jen's behavior was appropriate. I mean, let's take all of the sort of like cross-cultural dynamics aside. She totally violated the trust and confidence of her partner.
Oh my gosh.
Said, don't do this. Like taking all of that aside, right? Like she totally violated Rishi's wishes for how to interact with his family. Like, we're not even considering the fact that like he believes in, astrology, and that there could have been a chance if they did it, broke the news at a different time.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was just no way that what she did was okay or appropriate. And yeah. And like her friend Randy, oh my God. Like, again, a good friend would be like, why don't you like work collaboratively with your partner? I'm not going to pretend. A good friend would walk you off that ledge, that sort of like hysterical, I need an answer ledge, not participate and perpetuate it with you.
And it was an ambush.
Cool. It was an ambush
With multiple people there. If I were Rishi, I'd been like, we're done. Can you
Yeah.
imagine doing that to a partner? Like if you have a partner that's from a different country, marching in there, having a translator, not even speaking the audacity to not even speak their language, and just be like, I'm demanding this, not just from my partner, but from all of you as well.
See, but that's what I'm saying. Like take it outside of even the cultural international context. If you had another American partner that was from all the same demographics, all the same, like, positions as you, right? And they just said, please don't tell my parents that we're in a relationship. I'm just not there with them yet. I want good things for us. I don't think it's going to go over well. And you just like came in and told them, they'd just be like, oh, so my wishes and desires just mean nothing in this relationship. Like you wouldn't do that in any relationship. And I would go so far as to say, I think that she felt emboldened to do that because she thinks that his culture, his traditions, his way of doing things is backwards and inferior to her way of doing things. And that's why she did that. I think if she was dating, a white guy in Oklahoma who said, please don't tell my parents, she would have never done that. She would have never felt emboldened enough to impose like that.
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I also think that, the other side of this emboldenment, or her feeling emboldened, is just the entitlement. She thinks that she's put enough time into the relationship, 3 years, that she is owed this. Which totally, conclusion that ignores the fact that they're not compatible in a lot of ways. Like they have major jealousy issues. They haven't really shored up whether or not, they've been cheating, and I don't know. It's just delusional again.
It's unloving, right? Like at the end of the day, it's just unloving.
Yeah, it's unloving. That's a really great way to put it.
Jen and Rishi, why?
Jen and Rishi
cries. It's very sad.
And then I don't know where we go from here. I don't know what we're gonna see again. So I'm really excited about this. Maybe some drama. But next week we're going to see Gabe and Isabel get married. Hopefully. I'm sure he's gonna look beautiful. I'm sure
Monica's going to be there.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited to see what happens with Debbie and Oussama. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, we're covering Love in Paradise. That's saving us from our hell of banality that is Married at First Sight season 16. So you should really tune in. Our free episode is already uploaded to Spotify and wherever you get podcasts. It's also on YouTube, and it's also on Patreon at patreon.com/RLTY101 podcast. And where can they find us on social media?
We are on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and of course now on YouTube as well. Is YouTube social media? I don't know. Is it?
It is. I think it is.
Okay, it is. In any case, our handle across all platforms is RLTY, like reality, RLTY101. Find us there, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a shout out. Let us know your take on some of this really high drama, high packed past 2 episodes that we watched. Let us know your predictions. Like, where do you think these couples are going to go from here? Can Rishi and Jen pick up the pieces? Are Debbie and Oussama going to rekindle? Is Mahmoud going to come to LA with Nicole? Let us know. We want to hear your thoughts.
Let us know. We have so many goodies in store for you all. It's going to be a good summer. We're going to do some summer school stuff, but not in a punishy type of way. Come join our secret little book club type of way. It'll be very, very fun. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's it for Reality 101 and covering 90 Day Fiancé the other way. Dr. Rule, you want to sign us out?
Class dismissed.